Okay. And we're going to work on there's 3 blocks in the last half of row 5. And we're going to start with block H. And these are each one of them's a little bit different. We're going to use some different technique. Most of what we've already done, we may throw a twist in here every once in a while. So I think Mom's going to come over. We're going to start with block 5 or block H and go from there. So I'm going to move out of the way and let Mom come in and see if I can't get this tablet to keep doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay. Greetings, one and all. All right. 5H is a really neat block. It's got applique in it, and it's got piece. We already know how to do piecing. We already know how to do applique, but I approach it in a little different manner on this one. Here's the block. And the first thing that we're going to do is put this piece of fabric on the unprinted side of the foundation. And then we're going to piece this one on and piece this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And you only sew as far as the line goes, remember. So we piece that on to this foundation. Okay, let's look and see what that looks like when you've got that's what it looks like when it's pieced. And we've got loose ends here and here. I'm going to turn it over. I've sewn here and here, here, all around here. Then I went back. The next thing to do is put on these little applique pieces. This one. I'm going to interrupt. Here's the finished block. The finished block. So this is what you've sewn here, this middle, and you've done these pieces going out to the edge here. Then we're going to go back in and we're going to put these little appliques in here. Then the next applique process puts this wonky shaped piece here on the outer edge. So that's kind of where we're headed to. She's got this piece done here. We're going to start by putting these little ones on the next. And I'm going to put one on and go on to the next piece because they're all alike. This one is like that one, and so is that one, and so is that one. And then this piece, it's its own piece, but there's 3 more just like it. But to show you in a short amount of time of the process, I'll do it this way. Now, I want to stitch on the red line, and to do that, you really don't want to catch that fabric in that applique placement stitching. So I folded it back on both sides, and then I stitched the applique. Now that can go back in place. And I got the applique ready. And it's going to go here. Okay, now you were showing me something different that you did with it. 2 or 3 things. Mom learned that for this one, when you have your applique pieces, they've got a black line on one side and a red line on the other. And you trim them down very, very close to that pattern, to that. Don't leave any wiggle out there. Yeah. What she found out was that she really needed to trim off the red. And you can kind of see it, maybe if I get close enough to this, you can see that when she trimmed that, the red is not now on the applique piece. It's been trimmed off. Sometimes it makes a big deal, sometimes it doesn't. You're looking at a couple of threads. There again, that's that turn of cloth. So pieces that are such a small pieces, sometimes that makes a big difference. So that's where she's at. Now, another thing that she told me makes perfect sense. Once you cut that red off of there, you don't know where the red line was, because this one's got a black line on this side. You can assume that the red line was over here. But for those of us who would need to be a little more visual help, she put a little red mark on that side of the piece to show that's where the red line was taken off. With a friction pin, when you iron it, it's going to go away. Yeah. So that's why those little red marks are there, because that's the red line, and that's the one you're going to sew. That's the placement line. So that's how we kept that separate. Okay. Now you got this little dealy whoppy here. Yeah. You got to show what you're doing with that one. Okay. Now, when you put this on, if you carried on and folded, as we've done before, fold this over I can get it to fold. And then this folds over and comes on out on an angle. It comes out this way. Well, if it comes out that way, it's going to stick out and be visible. It's going to stick out and be visible in here.
You're going to go over the top of your other white piece. So you've got to get rid of that excess fabric. Okay.
So then the first thing I did was I clipped straight in to the point, and I went to the point on that one. And that was another thing I wanted to bring up too. When you clip, your scissor point should be about that far, 1/16 of an inch maybe, from the edge of the foundation, because you don't want to wrap the cut around to the back. You want to wrap uncut fabric around to the back. Just a little tip on the side there. Okay, let's go back to what I started with. I've clipped in straight into the point. Now, since we don't want anything to show, I'm going to take this little point turner here and hold it, and I'm going to fold this back straight.
Straight from the point.
Straight from the point up.
Out to this edge of the fabric. That way you get a straight, it's kind of folding it out of the way.
And the same thing here. I'm going to put my pointer there. I want to hold that point. And my hand is probably going to be in the way.
It's all right. You're doing okay right now. I'll fuss
I'm going
at
to
you.
fold it over and hold it down. Now, if it doesn't fold straight, if it folds like this, that's okay.
You just don't want it to fold the other way.
You don't want it to go out the other way. So I'm trying to fold straight. And if I do, that's fine. If I don't, it's not going to change life as we know it. And then I'm going to scratch that down. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. The fingernails are a wonderful invention. Okay, now the next thing is to turn the edge. And somewhere I'm supposed to have a pen to do this. And then we lost it already.
We dropped it on the floor.
Yeah, these little things are easy to lose.
We don't really lose them. We just temporarily misplace them.
No, but I dropped mine in the wastebasket one time. You wouldn't believe what I went through to find that little thing.
So this is the same thing with the applique directions. These are what you're going to follow through with the applique directions.
And I found myself a neat little pointer, and I can fold that over and I can smash it down. And I can smash it down there.
Okay, so you're going to do that around.
I'm going to do that around
that edge. Okay, and
fingers
then
still work better.
You're going to come up with this. Okay.
And I'm going to bring that to there.
This is applique. Okay, I'm going to take this one out of the way.
Yeah.
So she's already got that one done, and we're just going to be real progressive here and move right on to that.
I want to show you something else on this one.
I guess maybe I won't be so progressive.
She's not going to be. She can't be progressive yet. All right, we've got this thing, and it's like this. Well, we don't want to see this, and so take your little scissors, slip them underneath, and cut it off. Do the same thing.
Turn it over and let's see what it looks like from the other side. Can you cut it from the other side? Can you cut it from
can.
Okay.
I just slip my scissors under there and bring them to the point. Now, I already put fray check on these little corners, so it wants to be a little bit stiff. So we take our scissors, lay them there, and cut it off.
Okay. Okay.
Now, that one's ready to go on, as is this one. That's how you get them ready. I'm going to put the next one on, or the first one on, in order. And it's number 1, and it's going to go right there. To place it, we've already got corners. We don't have to look for that. So this corner needs to match here and here. It needs to kiss the white fabric. Okay, now that I'm going to try to come in here, and there's my edge that I cut. It's in the right place. All right.
Now you want some of your glue stick and take the lid off.
Get the lid off of that thing.
Okay.
Since a clamp won't work, they're too big. I'm going to go in here And right on this piece of foundation, I'm gonna smack some glue and glue it down.
Okay.
Now
you're putting the pieces that you folded back earlier back underneath of it. Okay.
Now I'm going to sew that, and I don't have the right color thread on here to sew like I would do at home when I'm really making this, but maybe you can see it a little better. Let me get my zigzag set here, right? This machine's got more settings. Okay, so I'm going to start right there on that point.
Okay, so you're using the 0.5 or 0.7 or whatever the zigzag, the direction.
0.5 width, and I'm going with 0.8 length.
Okay, just like you're in the applique directions to set your machine, you're still doing this. Take a few stitches and lift your presser foot and turn it and just keep going around the applique because it is a curve, but you still can't do that without moving it. So lift the presser and turn it and continue on till you get to the end.
And I'm going very slow because I want to see where that needle pierces. All right, that one's on. And you can see the zigzags. Like I said, the color's not right, but it lets you see where it should go. Now, the next thing to do is I've got to go back to my stitch length here, and I've got this applique on, so I'm going to stitch on this green line.
Do you want to take your applique pattern out of the one that you just put in there?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me.
Okay, so you pull that little glue piece away and take that little bitty pattern out of there.
Well, I stuck it on there tight.
There you go.
There he is. On.
Okay. Now, okay.
Now then, press it back in place.
Okay.
All right, now then, it's now sticking out over that.
So now basically what you do is go through this piece, you do the same thing in these other 3 pieces, and that's the red applique lines. Assuming that we've got all of these done, we're going to move to the green applique lines, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
The green applique line comes next. And I've set my machine back for a 1.5 stitch length, straight stitch. And here we go.
So this is the placement line for the green applique, or the second one. Okay, and while she's doing that, I'm going to set this up to where you would have cut your applique patterns out, just like that, and taken the piece of fabric that is supposed to go for those, and you would have glued it down. Here's how they come printed. So you've cut them apart on the lines, and then, like this one here, you begin to trim it out all the way around the piece, like these two have been. Now, the third one that she's going to work with, she's done a little bit more with it.
Yeah.
So, because this is the applique piece here, this one has to be cut and folded. Now, there's a little bitty trick that she wants to show you because right here, you can see this piece of fabric extends over past the applique pattern. Now, this one does not. She's already fixed this one. She's going to show you what you need to do to fix that so it doesn't extend past that applique line.
Okay, now then the first thing, I've taken care of that one. I'll get that to that in a minute.
Oh, I'm getting ahead of her.
I've stitched this fine here. Now, you know what we do next. We come in and we trim away. The silence is deafening, right? Okay, now back to the applique. Yeah, this one goes here. Now you'll notice that on this side here, this blue is past this line. And that's the bottom point. We don't want that. So I'm going to slip in there and cut that off. Like so. Now the next thing is
very simple to do, but yet it kind of eliminates bulk before you get to that point.
Next thing I do is dampen that line. And this is really easy because it's straight.
Okay.
Just fold it over with my fingers and press it. And the same thing here. Fold it over with the fingers and press it.
Okay.
Okay, got another little problem here. These little points are sticking out now. And we don't want them to stick out.
Those little points, right?
Yeah.
That one and that
Yeah,
one.
we want to get rid of them.
Get rid of those, okay?
So you can either sneak in underneath and cut it out, or you can come in from the top and cut it back. It doesn't make much difference. And now it's clean.
Okay.
Okay, and the next thing is placing it by using this is not nearly as important now as it would be on something else. What you want to make sure is that this point comes to here and this point comes to here. And I'm going to clip this because I'm going to start sewing up here.
Okay, your fingers are covering up where your points are here.
Let me get my hand out here.
Yeah, get your hand out of the way, if you will, please.
This point should come right there. Kisses both whites. Kisses both whites.
Okay.
And that's where it goes down. Regardless of what your pattern is, might show you back here. This is one time where you'll disregard.
You should be close.
You should be really close, but
in this point, this placement is much more critical than looking at where the pattern goes on the back side.
right. Now then, I'm going to go with zigzag again and reset. And I've had my machine in the shop.
Laura,
Yeah.
quick question. Did you keep the paper in for that one?
This one, we have not stitched down yet, so it's still in there.
Okay,
The foundation, we did pull out of this one just a little bit ago.
right.
Yeah, this one is still in there until we get it sewn down, and then we'll
Okay.
pull it up away from it this way and then
Okay.
pull it out from the back side.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, I know that I'm going to sew. The next piece that's going to go on will be right here. So I don't need to start my applique way back here. I need to start it like in this area. Okay, machine, let's do our thing and do it right. And here again, I'm using the thread that I did all the other sewing with, and it's going to show more than I would want it to on a regular piece.
And so you're going to get down to that point.
When I get down to that point, I'm going to lift the foot and make sure that that needle pierces that point.
So you're lifting the presser foot, lowering the needle by hand into the very point of the blue fabric.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you got the corner hooked, and then turn and then continue on around.
Turn there, and then I'm going to continue. This next swing will be a left swing, which puts it right back to the point again.
Okay. Just making sure you got several swings in that point.
If you have to stop and do that by hand, please do.
Okay.
It's just a small thing to do, but to make it turn out really good.
Okay.
Well, I'm not so sure I caught that.
This is where you'll go back afterwards and probably take that thread out because you wanted a different color.
Yeah.
But at least you get the idea of where we've got to be so particular as far as getting that corner. Otherwise it'll pop up.
Set the foot down, and I'm going to maneuver this by hand. I'm going to, because I don't want the needle to hit right there. I want it to hit in that corner again.
Okay. It's almost like a lock stitch, 2 or 3 stitches in that same corner to
Mhm.
fold it down. Okay. And then again, you'll go back out, but only out about as far as you
About
went.
that far.
Yeah, not clear out to the edge.
No, because the line, if I roll this back, the line for the stitching is going to end up right about here.
Okay. you
So
wanna
I
make-
can sew to that point.
Okay. And you
And I lock stitch it off.
lock stitch it off. Okay.
The zigzag on most machines will lock stitch off.
Okay.
Okay, so there it is. Clean it up.
Okay. Now we put these side by side here. And you can see there's the piece we just put on. There's another one here. Then you'll repeat the same thing
Here.
these other 3 times. And then the last step is to add the 4 pieces around the outer edge to finish out the block.
Now, on this demonstration, and because I can, because this piece, the next piece only goes from here to here, I can trim this and add this little piece of fabric if I wanted to. It is pointless to do that.
But it
Unless
can be done.
it can be done, but you can only do it on this side and on this one because you're going to cross it. So if you
Yeah,
put
I'll
this
do
on
another thing.
here, and you'll take that, and then you'll trim off everything that sticks out beyond that ruler.
And then you can put that other last piece on that one side. It's a possibility.
Ordinarily, this for demonstration, would do it this way, but if I'm doing it for the whole block, I don't do any trimming until I do all of these first, then I go back and do all of these, then I'm ready to trim. And by the way, I don't forget to take this piece out of there.
Oh yeah, there's the foundation coming out of that one. Okay, we
That's
got
what's
it.
left.
Okay, any questions on that one at this point? We're gonna move on to another block. Okay, I think we're good.
Good.
I've got everything collected.
We've
All
thoroughly
right,
confused everybody, or they are right with me.
one way or the other. All right, the next block is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pink one and it's got the circle. It's got
It's
a,
that one.
yeah, that one. So,
Okay, there's the foundation. The main foundation piece. And I've got all kinds of goodies here. This we won't need today because we're not going to put another border on. Now, when I cut the pieces for this, I'll have to tell you, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, which piece goes where? Back to the drawing board. When you cut these pieces, get yourself a sticky and write on there what size it is, because on this one, it's 2 3/4 inch. This one's 3 inches. This one's 3 1/4. That's not much difference when you've got them thrown on a table and you're looking at them.
mm-hmm.
To get them in the right place, because it's important where they go. Then the same thing with, now this one's a 2 1/2 on the blues or on the pinks.
But it just makes more sense to label them. It saves your sanity.
Right.
Okay, now
this one here,
move these out of the way for the
Yeah.
moment.
I've pieced all of these pieces around here, except for putting this the 8A piece on. And the reason I left it was so that to show you what can happen. We think of centering the upcoming piece on what is there before, okay? And if I did that, that's where that piece would go. But experience has told me that it won't work out that way. Let's take a ruler and lay it along this side. And you can see
When you sew
when you sew
this
this
seam
piece,
and flip this up,
flip this up, this edge is going to be right here, which is not hardly long enough. So take this and slip it over. Then line it up. And it's going to come out, the top edge is going to come out, it's going to follow this line going right up here.
you're going to have enough past this point to account for your seam allowance.
Right.
But you can't line this piece up with the fabric that's on here. You have, because this point goes out here.
You got to be thinking about what's happening out here to the side.
Mm-hmm.
So having said that,
So then you line that up, you pin it in, and then she's going to
And
sew
I'm
that
gonna
piece.
stitch it.
She's going to sew that piece into place. We're still using stable piecing general directions, nothing different. It's just that the lining up of that piece, sometimes we can save you a little bit of problem as far as lining it up versus having to tear it off and redo it.
right, that's the whole idea right there.
Here again, this is a 1.5 stitch length, and she starts and stops where the line starts and stops, and back stitches at the beginning and at the end.
All right, and that piece is on.
Oops, that's going to follow you.
Well, don't follow me over here. I'm only going to press.
Okay.
I'm going to press him into place.
Okay.
All right, now that is done. That part of this thing is done. Now then, we have to finish this piece, which is going to go here.
You're doing the
And
same.
it's the same thing.
the
I
same
didn't sew
thing.
the seam. I showed you on this one how to line it up, and this one I already lined up. So I'm going to,
But it's the same idea. You want to make sure that whenever you sew this piece on and you flip it up into place, that this line is going to cover the point or the outermost point of wherever your piece is finishes at. You want enough for seam allowance out there.
okay, now we'll get this one. So I think this machine's got its problems. It's not a new machine. But anyway, we're not going to have a return at the end of that. We're going to keep on going. And here again, stop at the end of the line. There's no line going around here that crosses this line, but you still stop at the end of the line and backstitch. You're gonna have to sweep your floor after I get done.
I can do that. I have a vacuum cleaner and I got brand new bags.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna press it into place. And the next thing is
What you need?
cutting mat.
Oh, I put it over here.
Okay, slap her down there for me, will you?
Okay.
And... all right, I'm done with this one, and it has to go on that one.
It has to go on here.
Right. Which means I have to trim the seam allowance back on 1 and 2.
Now on this one, 1 and 2 are in the same line with each other, but they are two different seams because they go, one is on this side, the other's on this side of this center. So we treat them as two different seams. We don't want them as one across here. They're two different ones. So that's why they're labeled as 1 and 2.
Now we got to get this one ready. And my ruler's a little short. That's all right. We'll just slide it right up the line. Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna start lining it up at the corners.
I'm sorry, like at this corner.
And you can kind of see through that. We can see through it here. I don't know if you can.
I did hit it.
Okay, so line it up at the corner.
And we're gonna stand the pin up.
So we know it's lined up right.
And I'm gonna take it out and put it back in again. And I'm on the pretty much, I'm on the above. Well, it could have been better, but let's get this one lined up.
Okay, so for this corner, we're doing the same thing.
Okay. And I'm going to put the pin in here on the line. All right, we're good there. Now, the only other places that we have to check on is this one. Looks like it's going to be all right.
And it should show up on the black line on the other side, correct? Okay,
I put it in on the line on this side and hopefully I hit it. Looks like I hit it on the back. Good enough. Now, number one. Back up. And so forward. When you sew these things together, you're probably going to notice that as you get closer to the center, it's a lot thicker in here. This foundation is going to help you keep that needle on the line. Otherwise, your foot wants to push off to the side and make the seam go where it shouldn't. And we only sew to there. And I'm going to go to here. Back stitch. Go to the end. Okay. Now, I know I'm on the line on this side. It looks like I'm on the line on that side too. Well, hallelujah. Miracles do happen. All right. We got the line lined up like we want it. Now comes tear off the foundation.
take all the foundation off of unit 2 that you're putting in, seam allowances and the whole thing. Okay. The last time we pulled foundations out, we were just doing it as an applique, and it was just a single pattern that was under there, was not held in the stitching line. This one, we've got some stitching lines holding it in. And I'm trying to get that glare off, but I'm not.
Take it, you know, turn the caterpillar off.
Maybe.
Well, there's some more trash for you.
Okay. Like I said, I got a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. All right. That's where we are. And we're going to flip it up into place.
You got a lot of fabric in the center.
You got a lot of mess in the center. Okay, I'm going to
Okay.
press it.
Mess is a good term too.
All right. And do we match up on the seam? By golly, it looks pretty good.
Okay, so there again, we're matching up the
We're
seams.
matching up the seam lines, and I'm
Those gray lines, and those are
uh-huh.
okay. Seam lines looking good.
But this time, because I'm not going to take the time to put these on, I want to get to this. So I'm going to pin this out here in the outer edges to keep this in place. And that should take care of it. Now we're going to move on. Remember, we got this mess to deal with here. All right. Put the fabric down.
The center is an applique, right?
So I'm going to the applique. Ordinarily, when the directions, I think we tell you to do the applique last, after these outside pieces are on,
After the outside, but
after these are on,
right, but for demonstration purposes, we're gonna speed it up and go to the center first.
right? So now I'm going to stitch on that applique line.
And while she's stitching, I will show you here that she has taken the applique piece and cut it out.
And when you clip to make that turn, make sure you clip close enough together because it needs to have a lot of little clips around there.
This one is then trimmed. And you can see all of the little clips. There's a whole lot of little ones. See how close together those clips are. And then she turned it over. That's why we've got the folds in it. And getting it ready. We'll have to press it again to make sure the folds stay in. But you can get the idea. This is kind of, so that's been prepared ahead of time. Now that she has trimmed or sewn around the placement line.
Well, we need to get rid of this stuff in the middle.
Okay.
Now, you can leave it if you want to. It'll just pad this out, but it's a lot of fabric in there, the bulk. So I'm going to go in. Yeah, I think I am.
Doesn't look like it's an easy one to trim.
No, I'm gonna go in and there's a lot of bulk in here. And I'm going to trim what I can.
It's such a small circle. Okay. That looks
It
pretty
isn't
good.
neat, but it is trimmed.
That doesn't look too bad.
Now then,
And it does lay a lot flatter.
yeah, let me get this thing pressed here so I
Okay.
can,
So you're gonna press your applique edges over and make them a little more.
yeah, make them a little more crisp.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense. You know, one of these days I'll learn how to do applique yet.
Well, I keep coming up with new ideas and ways to do things, so you're gonna have to hustle along here.
I know. I might just wait till you get done coming up with new ideas and start with the latest one. And that way I don't have to learn everything and then relearn it.
Okay, I don't, whatever floats your boat, I don't really care.
That thought process sounded good to me.
Okay.
And that one would be a little difficult to press because there's so many different pieces.
There's so many little different, and if you don't have a lot of little cuts around here, it won't turn right. It just plain will not look right.
Okay. So it does take a bit.
You have to work at it.
Okay.
Well, that's probably gonna be about it.
Okay.
So it goes there. And I'm not going to take the time to sew it down because I think you already see how that works. It's got to cover that stitch.
Got to cover
and this
your
thing is still not gonna lay flat.
Don't worry about it.
Persuade it.
We'll get it to lay flat when it's stitched. We won't have
Yeah,
any,
when it's stitched, it'll lay
will not.
flat, but I can do a better job of pressing. But anyway, it goes down and completely covers.
Completely covers that placement line. And then
placement
you got your center there, and then you go around that. And that's when you end up with looking like that. So that's how that center is done. That's how you want to work with this one, because it's got the weird angles and everything on it. So there was some few tips and tricks on that one. Now I'm going to set this one aside, and you got another one you wanted to do, right? Okay.
The other one that I thought might give people problems. All right, that's this one. Good job. Throw them on the floor.
And this one is in row 5. It is block K. Now, before we go any farther, we did something not too long ago on row 2, and this was block L on row 2. Now you can see that they're very similar. The centers that we were working on right here are exactly the same here. The process is the same. The difference with this is this has two pieces out here, and this is a squared off piece. This one has a circular piece out here. Then this has a square edge. This has a second applique around here, where this just has logs along the outside edge. So they're very, very similar, but we do have a couple of differences. So with that said, I'm going to take this one away, and this is the one we're going to work on. Okay.
Okay, this piece here is this piece here.
This out piece, outer edge here. Okay.
This piece is basically, because it's flipped over, it's this one.
Let's get ones that are all together.
There. That's 7 and 8. And this says pattern, applique 7/8 pattern.
Okay.
So these go together.
These are all a corner. Okay, let's do this. Well, basically it's going to look that way. It's like one of, so you're going to do 4 of these. You've got 2 triangles and 2 triangle pieces here, and then you've got this. Now let's put those away and let's work on this one.
You want to work on that one?
No, I want you to work on this one. Let me have those.
Okay.
I want all of those.
You want all of those?
Yeah,
Okay.
you do those.
Now, I have already put the applique on this one. I put 1A piece down, and then I did my stitched on my red line and prepared my app B, which ends up being one of these pieces like this. And here again, I cut away the red line, and it just made it easier. Suppose the phone rings, the company comes in for supper, and you don't get back to it for a day or two. Which side was red? I put a little mark so I know which side's red.
Okay.
And then that's this piece here.
Okay. So what you're looking at is
One of these.
this unit, this thing right here is this right here in its rough form. This one
is
this in its rough form. Because you've done the background and you've done the applique. Okay, what's next?
The next thing to do is to clean these up, and I'm going to do it with scissors, I think, instead of, I sure don't want the ruler to slip. So I'm going to cut here.
You cut all the way along there?
The whole thing.
The whole thing? Okay.
Even just the foundation.
Okay, that's another thing too. Look out on this one here. We've got fabric here, and we still have, see if we can turn this thing on. You can see through here, we still have part of this foundation that does not have fabric covering it yet. So part of this, we don't even have found fabric on it. So that's why she said, even where there's only foundation only.
So there they are. They're trimmed and ready to go together.
Okay. So,
and these points should kiss, and they will.
Okay.
So the next thing to do is
basically they nest.
They nest.
Okay.
And if you're checking ends of seams, which is always a good thing, because they have nested here, this may not be perfectly, well, it was dead on there, but that was lucky.
It may not be.
It may not be, but
Perfect.
the important thing is they need to nest right there.
Okay.
And all right, it went in here on the line, in here on the line, got to be on the line.
We're good there.
The next thing is, I'm gonna put this pin in back a ways. And I'm going to sew, and I'm going to start at the center, or I tell you to sew from the outside in. I better do what I told you to do.
Yeah.
Don't you think it'd be a good idea?
It would be a good idea.
Good idea if I follow my own directions. Okay.
You're going to start at the outside and work towards the center.
Corner.
So you're starting at the outside where there's only 2 pieces of foundation together. There's no fabric on it at this point. And you still treat it like you would any other seam. You're going to backstitch at the beginning, sew on the line, sew all the way through.
And when you get down here to this point, it's one of the only go as far as the seam line is, or the point is.
Don't go past it.
Do not go past the point, because on this one, you want to sew to the point because you're going to rotate those seams. They look better if you rotate them. I'm not going to say you have to have it, but you know, they look a little better. Okay, now since I started pressing this one rotating to the left, I'm going to press this one rotating
Oh, pardon
to
me.
the left. So that one's going, and this one will, that's the way they go. This
Okay,
one.
so as you do them, you want to press the seams the same direction on each
Mhm.
of the quarters.
Now, leave this here. Don't tear this out. Put your finger here, pull this foundation and pull it out. Leave the foundation out here. Don't take it away.
Okay.
Likewise on this side. Set your finger here. Don't, and tear it there. Go back and take this out. And this side doesn't want to tear out as good as the other side did, but that's all right. Okay. So I pressed that.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you got
Next step.
you got your quarter made.
Mhm.
All right.
The next step, I got your corner made. Now the next step is to sew on the green line.
Okay, let me see this for just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, right here, you can see we've got a piece of fabric that looks like we're missing out here. That's the next piece of applique that goes on, and that's this one. Like that. So you do your quarters, put them together, and then your next piece of applique covers the entire edge. And you can see here where, whoops, where this piece has no seam in it. It goes from one side clear to the other. It's kind of like a cap. Okay. All right.
And
now,
why did we do it that way?
probably because that's what Jane did.
Because that's the way Jane did it.
Yep. Okay. So she's trimmed it out. And she's got to.
And I don't have another one ready, so I'm going to have to do this real quickie.
Oh.
I don't think I do. And here again, I'm trying to keep it. You don't want to clip into where you're going to roll that over the edge, but you got to clip it so it will turn. And pretty close.
Well, you had one because you've got it here. You
Yes,
finished it.
I had one. I did have one, and I didn't go ahead and cut the rest of these, and I should have done that. Live
Okay.
and learn.
All right. So we're trimming that, or we've trimmed it out,
Mhm.
and then you're going to
I'm going to press it.
press it.
I'm going to press the turn under.
That may be too far for you to see. Again, using the fabric folding pen. I know some have talked about using best press in the pen because they run out of the stuff.
I
And
haven't tried best press.
I don't think we've tried it yet because she hasn't run out of the other stuff. And I haven't been able to borrow her pen long enough to let her run out of it yet. So, but she's pressing those pieces in.
You see, now, if I was ambidextrous, I could do this a whole lot easier than I am making it now.
Some of us are just blessed.
Yeah, I guess we are.
Okay.
Now that I've crawled around the edge. Okay.
Okay.
And now I got to do the green stitching.
So since this is the second applique, we're stitching on the green line. Almost done.
All right. And it's trim time.
Okay. Okay. That looks neat.
Came together pretty good.
Yeah.
Now on this one, I do match it up.
You're matching up the foundation pieces.
Mhm.
Okay, I see.
Matching up the foundation pieces.
Okay.
Okay.
Now kind of tuck the shirt collar in.
And I've got a little buckle in that. Let's release it and let the buckle go. A toothpick works real good to do this, believe it or not, because it's a little rougher. So that's where that piece goes.
Okay. Is there anything to line up at this point, or nothing to line up at this point on this one? This is
Not
just where
really.
it goes. It just
It's
needs
where
to
it
cover the
goes.
placement line.
That's where it goes.
Okay.
The only thing that you're going to want to check later on is when you join these together. In other words, 7 goes to 7, which means that's going to go there. And I'm going to fold that back, and you want those to pretty much come together
So whenever you
at
put
this point.
when you put those quarters of it together is when you really want to watch to make sure that these line, and then
If you
kind
get
of
them to line up, if possible, and
kind
it
of
may
adjust.
not be 100% possible.
Okay.
After all, Jane's wasn't 100% perfect either. But
Mhm.
so that's basically that block. You just repeat that. You make these first, this and this. You do those first, and you can finish them and sew them together. That you've got 4 quarters, and then you add this piece around the outer edge, which
Finishes the quarter of the block.
finish the quarter. And this is on the straighter grain because it's the outside of the block.
Okay.
I think
Is there
that's about
anything-
took care of it.
Okay.
Do we need to cover anything else?
Is there anything that we missed? Anything that was unclear? You couldn't see? Questions of any sort?
No, I think that was good, and they were good to see because they were complicated blocks too.
They were, yeah. They
We
were.
done good, huh?
Mhm, yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, I think I'm going to stop the recording
Okay.